situation away from me, maybe being locked up, I don't think it was a big thing for me. You understand? It's opening up already in Amsterdam, so that's why I'm talking more future sense.
Yeah, yeah, it's good to see. I think family is important at a time like this. We change perspectives. All of us have. We're all going through the same thing. Doesn't matter if you're a footballer or not. But yeah, how much have you missed the football? Has it been hard for you?
A lot, because a lot of my work has been over, Zoom calls. You log into the studio and do the call like that. I've been working. You understand? We picked up the game again. We're waiting for the Premier League to kick off. So stuff like that will always be part of me. I don't think TV will ever stop because you understand, or anyway, if you call it a different way. But I enjoy it, and away from that, I just want to give the people the understanding of that we're going through the same as they're going. It doesn't matter in what kind of way, but at home, and it's at home for everybody else. The only way I could do was sometimes go outside and start jogging, but I took 2 months, 2 months, the first 2 months of my life. I hadn't done anything, and I did 2 months. I stopped, and then I started to pick it up. So it was kind of like, what is it? Maybe yesterday or today was kind of one of my first days that I started to do sit-ups again. I didn't start running yet, so I'm gonna wait and then I kick off.
Was it hard?
It was tough. It was a tough one because like I do a lot of stuff with my brother-in-law. We are very good mates, so I worked out with him. We started at home, and me and him we're gonna keep pushing it. We are very close friends, so it makes life easier. Because you understand each other. We almost the same height and running wise. I mean, sometimes he's trying to beat me, but that's not working.
It's hard to beat an ex-professional. But listen, I know you have a big connection with the US, and I wanted to ask you about what's going on there right now. I mean, it seems to be capturing a lot of news attention and things like that.
Yeah.
In the UK, I don't know if you're comfortable about talking about it, but even in football,
No,
we're
even in football, look, when it comes down to the part of my color, I have experienced racism myself. So I'm not talking from an angle of like pretending or expecting. No, I come from a racism that has been around me. You understand? Across it as a and things will never change in the sense of if we don't stand up for ourselves. And I feel like, look, I'm not saying that the right way will be to attack people. And I'm not saying that breaking things open and stuff like that. But at one point we have to be heard. And the way we do it, we don't want to do it with violence. We don't want to do it with protesting in a way that we harm anybody. We don't want to harm people, but we don't want to see ourselves being harmed too, because that's where the problem kicks off. You understand? If you look at, you're talking about America, what happened in America, that someone lost his us to react because someone lost his life. It shouldn't life for us like that. It shouldn't have been like that. It should have been like the kid would be in, like the kid I'm saying, no, the person would be in, Floyd would be in trouble, and he will be detained in a way that we didn't have to jump on it. But then if it goes across to another way that someone has to lose his life, then it becomes a particular aspect. And then you see that we unite and we speak up. And I think that should always be like that, because it's never, it doesn't matter, right? If it was a different race and a different color, I would think the same way. But at one point, things have to stop and things have to change. And that's why we all come together and to try to make sure that we stand up for ourselves.
Yeah, we've seen it in US sports where a lot of athletes come out and speak out about racism. We've seen the guy, taking a knee in the NFL. We've seen it in NBA. These guys are brave and use their voices for good. But now we're seeing it in football again. I think that, sometimes football is in past eras we're maybe a little bit scared to speak, but now we are having, there's so many, Jadon Sancho, all this kind of stuff, Raheem Sterling. What do you make of this kind of change in football? Do you like it?
I think it's that that some of the players realize that their voice has to be heard. Look, social media kicked off in a different aspect than I kicked off, of course. But I think if we have a platform or a place that we can speak out, we should speak out. I'm not saying that, look, violence is not what the players are looking for. Violence is not what I'm looking for myself. You understand? But I want, you understand, equal understanding for everybody. It doesn't matter what race you are, because as much as people say, "Oh, this is happening," that's happening. No, I don't want no problems. I'm not the kid that's looking for problems. But what I do want to make people understand is that It has to stop one day, and because it doesn't stop, that's why people react like that.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that it's important to use your voice as well because you guys have experienced racism. I mean, I'm half Moroccan. I've experienced racism in football and in wider society. But yeah, I think that people listen to role models, and that's what they are. And yeah, it's right to. It's good when it comes from the individual, people who are respected. So yeah, I mean, I think that's a good thing.
It's not a bad thing to say how you feel. I think at home when you grow up with your parents, and I think those are the ones that educate you in what kind of race you understand and respect. And I think it should never be a difficulty or a misunderstanding of what race you understand you should be going after or whatever. I come from a home that color was never a problem. So now seeing that color becomes a problem, that's why we jump on it. But I will and will never make it a problem because that's what I stand for and that's how I was raised. And that's why my mom taught me the right way and said, like, color would never be your problem. You should never see somebody as a circle. I never felt less than anybody, and I'm a black person. I'm proud to be black. And I don't need anybody to remind me that I'm black because I know I am. But
Yeah.
racism, I will never support.
You love the US as well, don't you? Like, you want to see a positive United States of America because you go to LA quite a lot.
Yeah, it's that's where I live, and I moved to Amsterdam because, we were locked up and around the world, it was just one answer. So you come to a place where you have got your loved ones with you and that makes life easier. And everybody would do that, like relationship wise as well. You just want to be all together and make sure it's happening. But when it comes to America, it's a place that I like going before I live there. So that's why I don't want to see them in trouble. I hope there comes a solution and understanding so we can all move forward. And that's a global thing. It's not just a thing that happened in America or a thing that happened in England, what I love so much, or now in Amsterdam. No, and I had my Italian friends as well. They were locked up for a long time, and the Spanish friends. I just want things to be normal.
Yeah, absolutely. And listen, I think that we're starting to gear up and anticipate football coming back, at least in the UK Premier League. We've already seen Germany successful. I wanted to kind of focus on Chelsea. What do you think the challenges are for the club now between now and the end of the season?
Look, you got to make it to the Champions League. Don't let anybody overtake you. I think that's the main focus, and that's the main understanding as well. More try to that's the focus of Liverpool. And if that wouldn't been the focus, it would be a question mark for us. But when you look at Chelsea, I mean, they pushed all the way to a level where we had moments, of course, because it was Frank's first season, Jodie's first season. So of course you're gonna have, you understand, some ups and downs moments. But I think the moment when I really enjoyed Chelsea was also down to them too. So I feel that if these guys just keep on doing what they're doing and they do it as best as they can, there is no worry in my mind about them to keep carrying on, and their focus should be the Champions League.
Yeah, I think so, and they've got the FA Cup as well to come, and yeah, I think that, in the Champions League they're probably going to get knocked out by Bayern. Tough 3-0 loss.
It's a tough one. It's a tough one, but that's why the qualification I'm talking about. Like I'm talking about qualify yourself again to be in that market because it's a club. We're talking about Chelsea. It's a club that should be in that market. You understand? In that bracket, it doesn't matter that there are other teams are fighting for it too. That's great. That's why we love the Premier League because if it was only Chelsea, we would get bored. But it's because so many are going after it, and I enjoy it. But what I say is that qualify yourself for the Champions League. It's going to be a tough one that you play your second turn. You understand? Playing against a team like Bayern Munich, they had a great team. Even when they played at the bridge, when you saw the way they performed, they make things look really, really comfortable. Then you have the next one. When you talk about the FA Cup, that's one of the things that I enjoyed playing too. If you can win that, at least you brought yourself away.
Yeah.
And I think be one of the main focus too for them to achieve. But the biggest focus is qualify for the Champions League.
Yeah, you won the FA Cup, so I know you know about that experience. But yeah, tell me a bit about Hakim Ziyech. You've probably seen him more than most. I think Chelsea fans would be very interesting to hear your view because you're one of, I think, players who did that move as well, same move as him.
Same move. You understand? Look, what Hakim did, he came, of course, from a different club when they brought him to Ajax, but he managed himself really comfortable. I mean, in the beginning, he had maybe some like a dispute with some of the people that really had to understand him, and I always loved his quality. But it just took some time, and when he got himself managed into the team, he became arguably maybe the most important player of that team. That's why if they would have sold him a year before, they needed to hold on to him because if not, they let everybody go, and then the team started to struggle. They needed more time to build someone behind him. He goes to Chelsea now. Moroccan kid, I love him. You understand? When we meet, we always have a chat. He's very polite, very nice person, very confident. And I want to make people understand that confidence is not a bad thing. Sometimes people see confidence as a bad thing if they're not confident themselves. I love a confident player. I was one myself. So that's what he is. You understand? He's comfortable on the ball and he brings confidence with it. And I think he's technically very gifted, sees things that a lot of players won't see. And that's why I like him a lot. And I think he will do very well at Chelsea. It was just the main thing I feel for anybody that comes to England. It was the main thing for myself too, is that if you in England you're gonna have some crucial moments, but it's just like it does not matter what happens to you. If someone kicks you, if the game is tough or whatever, he's been through tough games. But England they come back to back, and if he managed to go through the back to back in a comfortable way and the way comfortable maybe is not the way you want to play. I'm not worried about that player. I think he will do well.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I think that there's a lot of
Can you
misconceptions
hear
with.
me?
Yeah, I can hear it. It just froze and then it came back, kind of thing. I was just saying, a lot of people maybe think he's arrogant, but that's just like you said, his confidence. And anyone who's met him, and I've spoken to a few people who met him, they all say he's a great kid. What was your experience of meeting him?
I saw him actually. So I was at Ajax maybe a couple of months ago, and I bumped into him. So I came out of. I was with Antoine van der Sar. I went to go and see him. So we had lunch together, and then he brought me to Mark Overmars. As I leave that room, Hakim comes in, and Hakim sees me, and he comes, hugs me, and says hi to me. And it was right after that he took that move to Chelsea. I hadn't spoken to him yet, so it's not like I spoke to him and that I had no involvement in the deal that he did, and he did it himself. And but he must have looked at a club and thinking, the same what I saw. Beautiful team. It's London, and the love and the passion that they have for you after I even played there, it's just exceptional. So that's why I feel like if he does well, I was told when you get on the field, it is one thing you got to do. Make sure you every minute you show that you want to win. That's even more than because sometimes if you play in Holland, if you keep the ball in the team, you get a couple of seconds that you can relax, especially if you come from a team like Ajax, you hold the ball in the team. But when it comes to Chelsea, you play the game like that sometimes too. But one thing you could never lose, the winning spirit. You gotta make sure that you play to win. You understand? It doesn't matter if you're behind or whatever. English people like sometimes you could lose the game or you could win the game really, really with a lot of big numbers. You cannot forget that. You gotta play to win, and I think that was one of the great things that I loved England so much.
And you played with Frank and Jody, and they're going to take this guy and try to fit him into their team. A lot of young players fitting in. Where do you think he fits in, and where do you think he'll help Chelsea?
Look, he's a forward-thinking player. You understand? He sets people up and he creates chances himself. He's very knowledgeable, so he's very intelligent. I think moving forward for him, it will be where can he slot in? Look, we know that coming from the right, he's very dangerous. Why? Because he can take you on the outside and he can take you on the inside. With a left-footed player, it's very, very crucial, especially the way we play football now. He's got a great long pass in his feet. He can score goals. He's confident. He will dribble at you. If you get one-on-one, he'll take you on. And so that's why I feel like when you look at Jody, what was the key thing is that he knows the young players really well. It's very easy for him to put them through. That's why we got so many young, great stars coming through at Chelsea. Now, when it comes to Frank, Frank knows about this player. Jody knows it too, so don't get me wrong. But together, they must have spent some time. Why? Because I bumped into Frank when he started the job for Chelsea on the street. Me and him, we had a chat. We spoke. It's really, really good to talk to him. You understand? It's like when you see each other, he sits in a car. I didn't even recognize. He opens the door just to say hi to me. That's, like that connection that will always. And I always wanted him to get the job. Getting a player like Hakim is just that he's going to see a very talented player, but Hakim has to understand that English is totally different than Holland. And if he understands that, because sometimes people think um, the knowledge of football we have, but to push to another level, you know, that's what you got to bring yourself. Do I think he can do it? Yes. And I think Frank will teach him really well. I expect him to do well. And Jody, you understand, to teach him the bite of football, because the bite that you have in you is something that you either have it, and if it's not there, and luckily he has it, it will probably come on the field.
Yeah, and I wanted to ask you, as a fullback, have you seen much of Reece James? I just wanted to sort of get your opinion on that. I didn't ask you last time, but yeah, he's kind of doing really well at
Yeah,
Chelsea this.
yeah, I know. He had a good season at Wigan. So he came from Wigan and brought him back to Chelsea, and then he kicked off really well. I like him as well. He looked very comfortable on the ball. He's got a very great delivery. He's built very strongly. The key thing for me, and I said it before once about him when I spoke about him, I like him as a talent. I think it's a great player. You understand, he has that drive for us. He's looked to go forward, because that's a modern way of playing football. If you're just a defender and you can only protect your man, you're good, but not as good. And luckily that Reece James got more. He knows how to attack. He knows how to go forward. The key thing is, what I want to make sure that the understanding is that as much as you go forward, defending is why you play. And as long as he can get back as quick as he can in a position that he's supposed to be in, I don't think his future is going to be anything different than the way it's going now.
Yeah, it's incredible to step up from Wigan, and then 1 year later he's playing against Bayern Munich in the Champions League. There are sometimes in those games you see maybe there's one or two things he needs to improve upon, but I still think he's adapted well to the new level of football.
No, he's doing really well. I think it's a great player, like I said. The key things is what I literally told you. If you can I think the only thing I would say is get back in your position as quick as you can. The rest of the game, I don't have no doubts about him that he will achieve what he wants to achieve, because he's got everything. He's got everything. When I say everything, it's that cross, strength, speed. You understand? He can play one-on-one. He proven to everybody when he played against Saha. Saha is one of the best wingers. If he is in form, it's a very difficult player to play against. And if you can calm him down, that says a lot about your ability as a defender. So then we all know that you know how to go forward. So the only thing I can say, and it's a margin of his game, get back to your position as quick as you can. When you attack, it looks great, but defending is your job. And he knows how to do it, because he did it against Saha.
Yeah, you're right. I think that, technically brilliant, like all